Welcome to Childcare Conversations with Kate and Carrie.
Today we are so excited. We have a bonus episode for you, and we are going to talk about what a lot of teachers are struggling with, but as a director, how you can arm them with behavior. That's where I'm going to start. So with that, Prerna, see, you muted yourself. I don't know why you thought that was going to be a good thing.
Okay, so we have two guests this week, which we very rarely do. So we've got Prerna Richards and Laura Nelson. And so let's start with Prerna, just for the three people who are listening who don't know you and haven't seen you. Why don't you give a quick introduction?
Well, thank you, ladies, for the invitation. And if you haven't met yet, let's become friends. I am the founder and CEO of Together We Grow. And Together We Grow provides professional development, behavior coaching, and NAYC consulting. And I just want to play. Come on over and let's play. That's what I do.
I love that. So Prerna is here with one of her clients, and we are so glad that Laura has joined us I guess it's this afternoon. Anyway, whatever time you're listening, it might be morning. We don't care. We're just glad that you're here. So Laura, tell us a little bit about how you found Together We Grow and maybe what your first reason was for reaching out and getting involved in Prerna's trainings and certification.
Sure. So I first met Prerna at a Texas AEYC conference. Blew my mind. I've never heard a trainer like Prerna speak before, and everything just made so much sense. And then maybe like a few months later, we hosted our own organizational conference. So all the centers within our organization gathered, and we asked Prerna to be a keynote speaker. And so that's really where she and I really connected and just kind of built this friendship that we have. And that's where we got introduced to Together We Grow. And it's been phenomenal. It's been a complete game changer, not just for our centers, but I mean, even for me as well, who is in charge of all the training that we do for our organization. So I've absolutely loved having this relationship with Prerna, because I mean, there's just so much insight into early childhood that is just like, I always walk away thinking, I've just been doing it wrong my whole life. Why didn't I think of that? Like, how simple she just made that. Like, why do I struggle with this so much? It's just
mission accomplished. Make you feel bad. Mission accomplished.
But you gotta love those aha moments. Those are great.
Yes.
Well, one of the things that I think makes a really great training is when somebody can take something that you're like, yeah, I've been doing this, and then give you more of a perspective. Like, I was a toddler teacher for a good number of years, and I always had hammering tables and drums and stuff like that. And people were like, what? Your classroom always has these things. Why do you have them? And I'm like, because they need to develop their rotocuff in their shoulder. And if you don't give it to them, they just throw the blocks. And they were like, what? It's that different perspective on something. That's what we want out of a good training.
Absolutely. Well, great. Well, so Prerna, tell us a little bit about you've got a certification coming up, and I want you to tell us a little bit about it. And then I'm going to have Laura tell us why other people need to really think about sending their teachers or some sort of their staff.
They're leaders.
Cool.
They're leaders. There we go.
So yes, thank you for this, for getting the word out. This is so critical. So the certification is called Behavior Certification and Behavior Specialist Certification, and is designed for coaches, administrators who support teachers. It's not for teachers, it's for people who support teachers. And the idea behind that is to teach you coaching skills, because coaching is not a skill that we are all born with. Coaching is a skill that we have to learn. We might get a title of an education specialist or education manager or whatever our title might be, but we need skills. And why am I doing this right now is because the stress in our programs is off the charts. It's like next level behaviors chart. Stress is up here. So the certification gives you 3 live days. So we meet for 2 hours over 3 days live. And it's in the moment coaching, but also learning relationship skills, neuroscience skills, The leadership skills, you will also get sentence starters. So you can go into the classroom and confidently coach a teacher who is either overwhelmed or resistant or shut down, because this is what people keep telling me. I have teachers who just shut down. It's more than the strategy of just role modeling. Role modeling is not a strategy that's very effective. So I give you sentences, what to say, and we have coaching in person. Last year we offered it. We had 160 coaches from around the world join. This is our third time offering it. It starts on March 27th. There's a special discount going on right now, which finishes on Tuesday of next week, the March 18th, which gives you $100 off. But it is an investment in your program. If you have decided what you're doing is not working and you want to empower your team to learn the real strategies that have already transformed hundreds of programs. Like, I'm not making this stuff up. It's actually transforming.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for telling us a little bit about the makeup of the class. Laura, tell us more. Speak to the other people who have a role just like you, because you're the director of education for a multi-site program, correct? Did I get that right?
Yes.
So how many locations do you have, Laura?
So in January, we just opened up our 21st location. But when we started with Prerna, we only had 8. So we've grown quite a bit in the 2 years that we've been working with Prerna. Because we're growing so much and we're in 2 different regions at the moment, I am only one person and I cannot be everywhere for everyone. And so we decided to create a position for each one of our centers where it was basically like my own people were in the schools, and they were really going to help the teachers with classroom management, get their curriculum. We were seeing how many of these newbie teachers come into our industry and had no idea what they were doing. And so again, I'm just one person. I'm new to training adults how to train adults. So it was kind of like we all needed a refresher. We all needed a different perspective to figure out, okay, how are we going to do this with so many different centers and with so many different people and not mess it up or make everybody worse off than where we're already at. And so that's where Prerna certification program came in, is we all went in and we just started learning together. And it was just phenomenal. It was a great introduction on how to help come alongside teachers and just hand over hand teaching. Like Prerna was saying, it's not enough to model. Yes, more is caught than taught, but it's not enough to just come in and do these things little bits. Like, there's so much of explaining the why behind what we're doing and why we're doing it differently, and understanding ourselves in order to understand the children. I mean, there's so much impacted into that certification course, but that's just the beginning. It's just the beginning, and it has completely transformed our centers. I mean, we were seeing children in the office all the time because nobody knew how to handle the behaviors, and now you don't see that anymore.
Laura, can I jump in?
Amazing.
I remember one of the things that you said to me that had transformed was how your staff burnout and staff turnover had reduced, and how your suspension rate for 4-year-olds had reduced because you were ending up suspending kids and disenrolling kids, and that dropped. Can you talk a little bit more about that change?
Absolutely. We have, I'll give one specific center as an example. One of our locations had just undergone a new director change. They had a brand new education coordinator come into their school, and it was just kind of a hot mess, right? Lots of new teachers, don't know what they were doing. We have a higher standard of care and education that we have for our centers. And teachers were really struggling. And so we were always seeing children go up to the office, teachers calling admin or anybody to come get the children out of the classroom. They were done. They didn't, they just couldn't deal with it anymore. And it wasn't helping anybody. So children were getting kicked out because it was just kind of like, we've tried, but there's always a better way. Like, no one's really trying. Like, we're not thinking about like what the root cause of the problem is. And so going through the training courses with Prerna, and again, we've been with her for a couple of years now, so we're in other programs too. It is just completely transformed. They just underwent their TRS assessment, and when I spoke with the education coordinator, she was like, it was such like a proud mama moment for her, because she knows that her teachers are great, but just to see them, just how far they've come. She was like, I cried a little bit, because you walk into the building, everybody's happy. You don't hear anybody yelling. You don't hear kids screaming or crying. Like, everyone is just happy and calm and peaceful. And they have teachers that have been there with them now for a couple of years, where you don't even hear about that. And the center's not very old either. It's only a few years old. So they have teachers who have stayed through, and the children, they're almost at 90. No, I think they're over 90% capacity now. I mean, it's
Awesome.
just, it's been
There was
amazing.
there was one other example that came to mind that you had said somebody was doing a tour and they were getting a tour and they were so impressed with how that teacher in the toddler classroom didn't react, but she responded respectfully, connecting before correcting. And that was one thing that we've talked a lot about. And I
Mhm.
remember you saying that that person who was getting the tour was so impressed that somebody else would have been reacted more. And what are you guys doing?
Mhm.
Can you talk about
Absolutely.
that? Can you
Sure.
explain a little bit more?
Yeah. Yeah, so like she was saying, they were doing a tour, and it's funny because we get a lot of parents who come in and will say, like, this place is so much different from where I just came from. Like, the teachers don't talk to the children, they talk at them, and that's not what our parents see when they come to a tour, and they're just getting a little snippet, right, of what happens. And so when they see the teachers getting down to the children's level, they're making those connections with them, even in full-blown temper tantrum modes. They're making those right brain to right brain connections, right? They're making that emotional connection to allow that child to feel heard and to feel loved and to feel safe and secure in their emotions, so that they can work through the problem with them and get them back to their little calm left brain self, where they can problem solve and think of ways to do things. And so, for again, in just a small moment, for parents to come tour, they're like, what is happening? Like, how, where can we find more teachers like this? Like, it's all of that has come from what we've learned from Prerna. Like, it's just, even myself, as a trainer now that I'm starting to train outside of my organization, like, I talk all the time. If you don't know Prerna Richards, let me spell her name for you. You need to write this down. You're welcome. Trust me.
Sweet.
Like,
That's so
it's just
sweet.
like,
Thank you.
there's
Well, I think
just
one of the
even
things you also just
amazing.
shared, Laura, that I know Carrie and I have talked a lot about, especially across the state, well, really across the country, when people are in panic mode about hiring.
Mhm.
I think what you said was key, and I don't even know if you realized it, which is basically we can train them. We can train them. Now,
Yes.
but they have to like kids first. We can train them into the job. So,
Mhm.
just because somebody has experience in the industry doesn't always mean that that's the only person to hire. So I love the idea of thinking about, hey, make sure that you have someone on staff who is really prepared to train
Yeah.
maybe the people who you're
Mhm.
bringing in who are new to the industry, which is great because they like kids. Like, they came because
Yes.
they liked kids.
Yeah.
And I think it's more than just training. What she's talking about is training and coaching.
The
Oh,
And
yeah.
that's
coaching.
what the certification helps
Yeah,
with, is helping them understand
can I
that.
tell you a little bit of 3 nuggets that you get during certification, which Laura hinted on, and I want to just give a clarity of why this course is so powerful and why it's not just information and it's transformation.
Mhm.
So 3 nuggets. The first thing you're going to learn is SAIL, SAIL. When children and grown-ups feel safe, accepted, included, then learning can happen. Right? This is neuroscience. I'm not just making this stuff up, but yes, this acronym is mine. I created it. Right? But people have to feel like they belong.
Mhm.
And so what Laura's talking about, that they haven't had staff turnover, these people now feel like they belong. And they have created an education specialist position who is at each location, who's supporting the teachers so the teachers can be seen and heard and understood, right? So that's the sale component. Then the second component is the connect before correct. We hinted on it before, but it's really a mind shift how are you connecting before you're correcting? And connecting comes from understanding out of curiosity and not accusation. So you're late and you're tardy and what's wrong with you? And you didn't turn your lesson plan. Blah, blah, blah. So the work that we do is the coach connecting with the teacher before we can expect the teacher to connect with the children, right? We're filling in the gaps. And the third one is transforming stress to joy. And Laura hinted on that. There's laughter and joy and smiles in the building. And before, there were cries and screaming and yelling. And the reason that was happening was because their behavior wasn't being understood. But staff don't just know this. They would have the best intent, but we have to bring the neuroscience in to connect the pieces. So these are the 3 golden principles that the certification is grounded on. And then I have 7 principles for the ongoing coaching because I go deeper in that, right? Like there's a framework, there's a whole science behind it. And then you'll get sentence starters, what to say instead of just saying, stop doing that. I might say, hey, I noticed you're hitting. What's going on? Let's talk about this, right? That connecting piece comes in.
Absolutely. Well, I love it. And I don't want to give it out anymore because I want them to come find you. So in the show notes, there will be all kinds of links. There will be information about the upcoming certification course, how to get more information on Prerna. We're going to even have Laura's contact information. It may be her LinkedIn page. It may be her email. But if you are interested in knowing more about Laura, the types of training Laura does, that'll be there as well.
She has a whole new website. I want to plug her in. She has a whole new website, which has tons of training. So please link that. And I would love for people to find her and love for her business to take off. I want to support her business taking off. And I think this is how we play well together in our playground. We support each other.
Yes, absolutely. Prerna is definitely my role model. I want to be her when I grow up.
Look, this is our tribe right here. This is our tribe. Yes. I'm giving virtual hugs right now to everybody. You're helping me and I'm helping her. This giving going forward, right? We pass it on.
Absolutely. All right, Carrie, what do we want to say?
Okay. At the end of the show, I almost always say, if you learn something from this show, share it with someone else who needs to know. Yes. And go on to your podcasting app of choice and make sure you are following or subscribed and that you write a review. Laura was a little unsure about being on a podcast. Let her know how she did and definitely connect with these ladies. They have a lot to share that will make your life so much better if you access their resources. So we will talk to you next week and bring you more.
Thank you for listening to Childcare Conversations with Kate and Carrie. Want to learn more? Check out our website at texasdirector.org. And if you've learned anything today, leave us a comment below and share the show.